Now, when it comes to British-based soul, our next guest is the real deal. Mica started off singing in church before turning professional in her mid-teens.
She had her biggest hit in 1988 with My One Temptation, and now she's about to be born again because that's the name of her new album, which takes her back to her musical roots. And we're going to speak to Mica. Hello again, Mica. Lovely to see you.
Hi.
In just a moment. First, let's have a look at the new single, Baby Come Back Now.
You know, I've been thinking, counting up the days. I try to forget you, but you just won't fade. You know, I've been losing my mind. I'm just a prisoner in this world you left behind. I don't know where I'm going or what I'm supposed to do. One thing I know for sure is I'm nothing without you. So baby, come back now, pull me out of my misery. Now was it good love, bad love? I don't know what you did to me. I try to hold on to the little piece I had of you. Baby, please.
And Mica joins us now. Brilliant, upbeat kind of feel to that. You saying it's written by James Morrison?
That one was given to me by him, and I was just really, I mean, I've got some really incredible writers on this record, you know. It's taken me 2 years to get it right, this album. It's been a lot of work.
And the title of the album is Born Again. That implies a kind of slightly spiritual kind of thought process. What is that? A bit of what's going on? What's it all about?
Well, basically, the song was written by Paul Barry, who's just an incredible writer. And when I heard that, when he first started writing the song, he called me in. It just sounded like all the stuff that I'd been through in the last 20 years of my career. I hadn't been, you know, haven't made a record in 10 years, you know, an original studio album. So actually, you know, it felt like a renewal. Going back in the studio was like, I felt like I was doing it for the first time. I was terrified. I was like, how am I going to get this right, you know? So Born Again really sums up my whole journey, really, of how I feel right now. I feel like I'm doing it again for the first time.
Had you made a choice not to record or sing as much? I mean, or did something happen? I mean,
what really happened was, I mean, I couldn't get signed for like good 10 years. And all I kept getting love from was TV and radio. They were giving me all these shows. And the industry didn't really sign me up or giving me any love. So, you know, I went where the love was. The love was TV and radio.
Well, you know, yeah, well, thank goodness. I mean, brilliant to be doing TV and radio. But
Absolutely.
What then is the reason? I mean, you're a fantastic performer, obviously
Thank
really
you.
popular if you're doing, you know,
Thanks.
television and radio presenting.
Yeah.
What is the thinking behind record labels? It seems kind of arbitrary sometimes to the people who buy
I don't know. I mean, you know, you do kind of think to yourself that it's a very, very youth-obsessed market. And, you know, one is getting a little bit older, you know. Not me, I'm just kidding. But, you know, so it could be that. There's many factors, and I think...
Do you think that that's a factor? Do you think ageism, and particularly with women in the music industry, is a factor?
I think it's a whole thing everywhere. I don't think it's just... I think it's the entertainment business. I think the longer you're in it, the harder it is to keep being fresh and people believing that you can offer something. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, now you talked about highs and lows in your career.
Yeah.
And personal life too.
Yeah.
So give us a little insight into that. I mean, what have been these low points you talked about?
Well, the low points have been losing my brother was tough.
Tell us a little bit more about that.
Well, my brother was shot like 3 times in 2001. It was terrible, terrible on the family, and we all were really traumatized by that. It was a terrible shock to everyone. Then I went in and I did a lot of work with Trident and worked with mothers who'd lost their sons, and that was really powerful. That was a really powerful time. And all those years that, like, you know, my music was nowhere to be found. I wasn't doing any music at that point. And it was hard, I mean, you know, to come through that. But you think about the message that, you know, he left. Jason was always saying, you need to go back and make a record and don't worry about the politics that goes on with it. You must always make music. You think about those kinds of things, and then you decide when you go in to make a record, you're going to put your heart and soul into it because you want to, you know.
At the time of his death, around the time of his death, did it sort of quash all your creativity? I mean, were you just the emotions that were knocking around you?
It was a terrible, terrible time. I can't. First of all, you're in shock. You're just a bit like, what's happening there? It's hard to explain what you go through because you're in shock. You know, you don't expect someone to be that you love and to be taken out like that. It's not normal, is it? And he's so young, so that was hard. But so I've sort of, you know, the Trident work helped me kind of deal with the pain and the loss by dealing with other women who have lost their sons as well. losing a brother in that way is very traumatic. But when you talk to people who've had the same pain and loss, it kind of helps you to deal with your pain in a way.
Yeah, and eventually you found then that you could get your creativity back. And
Absolutely.
is some of the music dedicated to Jason?
And my auntie as well. And my auntie was a massive part of my life. Her name was Shirley. She was really important to me. And I lost her a few years ago as well, and that was tough because when someone's always been a part of your life and always gave you some good advice. She was one of those aunties, the ones that always said, "Go on, follow your dream, do your thing," And it's kind of hard when you don't have that support around you anymore.
And on the plus side, I don't want to dwell too much on the downs.
Yeah.
I mean, in your private life, you have 2 children yourself.
Oh, gorgeous, gorgeous girls.
Inspirations for you?
Oh, totally. I mean, they're the reason why I'm even, here. The fact that your kids keep you really young, they tell you, they treat you like a mum.
And have they been saying, "Come on, get out there"? Why aren't you
Absolutely.
singing?
It's like when, and judging every song I bring home as well and saying, like that one, don't like that one, that kind of thing.
Do you heed their
get
advice?
roasting. I get a roasting.
Because you're going on tour, aren't you? I mean, never mind going back into the studio, you've got to go out and tour. So what do the girls think when you do that? Do you take them with you? Do you?
No, I don't take them with me because they have their lives. I mean, I try not to. When I'm a mum, I'm a mum. And when I'm working, I'm working. I keep it very separate.
That's the way to do it, isn't it?
Absolutely. And the album's done now and it's finished and it's out now. And Born Again is the album and the single is Baby Come Back now. So I'm working that and promoting that. And then I'm doing Ronnie Scott's on the 10th to the 12th. So being on the road again with the band is amazing.
Just London or around?
Well, first it's Ronnie Scott's 10th to the 12th, and then it's going to be the rest of the UK.
I love the idea of a Britain's Got Talent kind of panel at home, judging every song. We're out of time. Nice to see you today.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Lovely to see you, Mica.
Thank you.
Thanks very much indeed.